Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox, where we talk about all things Xbox, new and old. And on today's agenda is a review of The Sims for the original Xbox. Released right at the beginning of the new millennium in 2000, only for the PC, The Sims is one of the most iconic gaming franchises of all time, and it quickly gained that status almost immediately after it was released. Just as an introduction, The Sims is a life simulator. You make your own sim and then you have them get promoted, get married, have kids, and mainly just manage their whole life, even things like sleep and going to the bathroom. You earn money to buy stuff and build a house, and you eventually die and continue the life cycle. It's a small concept, but with huge implications. To me, I would describe it as the pure essence of an RPG experience. Sure, it doesn't have the fantasy, but you purely control a character, flesh out their story, and create their life. And it was revolutionary in the year 2000. I was very young at the time, but I was already really into video games, and I remember seeing a news program with my family all about how video games were becoming life-consuming, with this game and EverQuest being the two big examples. I was honestly enthralled by this news footage. I thought it was incredible that I could live another life in a video game. I could control literally every element available to me, and then from then on, I was a huge fan of The Sims. Unfortunately, my family never had a PC that could run higher quality games. I usually played all my video games on the web, or you could see me playing Roller Coaster Tycoon all the time, much like I do to this day. I did not get to play The Sims until they announced the console version to be released in 2003 for all major 6th generation consoles. I was so excited to finally get my hands on a Sims title. It felt like my holy grail of video games. My parents finally got it for me that same year, and it was for the GameCube, and I put it in, and it required a memory card to play. I had no memory cards at the time, and I was so upset. I was probably the most devastated I had ever been in my life up until that point. Luckily, my parents were nice enough to go out and get me a memory card, and from then on, I was hooked. And now I can play the PC version pretty easily, which of course is the better version of the game, but I do have a lot of memories with the console port. This is my first time playing it on the Xbox though, but from what I can tell, it's pretty much the same gameplay-wise as to what I played as a kid. But it does offer a nice 480p upgrade here on the Xbox version. So what makes this different from the PC version of The Sims? And that mainly comes in the form of controls. Without a mouse and keyboard there, which is really needed in The Sims, there needed to be some kind of intuitive way to handle the game on a controller. So a pointer from God shines down from the screen and you move that around to select things. I know some people have issues with this system. Maybe it's because I grew up with it, but I think it works well. It's a nice visual signifier and intuitively moves. If you select multiple things, it's easy to select them through the easy to use menu. The one major thing controls-wise that is a bit funky is your personal menu. Things like your mood meter, your friendship level, and job status are on the D-pad, and you have to hold down the D-pad to look at these things rather than just click it and it stays up. And if you've played The Sims before, you know that you have to keep an eye on your constantly moving moods. So having to hold down the D-pad while you take care of things with your sticks is kind of a messy way to control, and luckily the later Sims console games would actually fix this. So they found out that that was not the way to handle the controls. But other than that, I do think that it controls really well. The other main thing that differs in the Sims 1 version of the game is a story mode. So in story mode, you just make your character and you move up from living with your mom to being in a mansion with going through roommates and all of that along the way. You have goals that you have to hit to move up to the next level, usually stuff like getting a promotion or gaining skill points. There's only a few amount of select levels here, but it's not a short game by any means, especially in The Sims 1. It can be a bit tedious with the moods. Moods have to be taken care of fast and will constantly move around, keeping up with your skills and friendship thrown in there. But when you work, you have a very limited amount of time because you need to sleep as well. Sounds kind of like real life, so in that front, I can say it's at least accurate. I feel like, though, they struck a better balance in the next edition, but as a Sim fan, no matter going back, it's always fun and it never gets boring. I really like this one because it gets really hectic, and when you have your schedule perfect, it feels very rewarding, especially when you get to move out in the story mode. I think the addition of goals was a really nice touch for the console version. It gives you something to strive for, and it's something you'd see get implemented into the Sims games as they went on. The story here is bare bones, but as any Sims game, the story is what you make of it. This may feel archaic now, but for its time it was revolutionary, and it was probably great as an older console gamer to get your hands on this. Now, I do have a few nitpicks, but one issue I had was mainly in the story mode, and I think it's more of a personal preference of mine. So personally, I'm not a fan of controlling more than one sim. I think it's too much for me at a certain point, and I don't even really like having kids in the game, but in this story, it almost requires you to play the other character. So you can fast forward time, which can help you with a lot of mundane tasks, and especially when you're in sleep mode, you will super fast forward and it'll pass up a lot of time. So that only happens when the whole household is asleep, and I could really care less about the side characters in the story to even play them. But it makes you sit around and do nothing with no fast forward as another character. Even earlier in the story mode, you cannot force your side characters to do the crappy tasks like cleaning. They just won't do it. So you are stuck doing nothing. And I really hated that you had to control a boring sim, especially when they didn't want to sleep. And as you go on, the characters do more, so that can help you, and you can make these sims just clean for you and everything. But it did annoy me a little bit and kind of killed some of the story mode for me. But another cool little addition is a 2-player mode in this, and it'll ask you to do like silly tasks like getting money, socializing the fastest. It's an interesting addition. I don't think it's great, but if you've ran out of multiplayer games, hey, why not give it a try? There is also a regular Sims mode here, which is cool, so you do get the base Sims game on the console, no story or anything, just you building your life. More than story mode, you actually get to do things like building your home and really fleshing out the furniture, which is one of the things that I really love about this game. It's where you can truly be creative, and I think the controls for building things are well done. They really got it correct right off the bat on how we should build homes in the console space. You can easily just copy and paste wallpaper, you can do the floor on everything, and it's simple furniture, but it's so iconic looking, and I absolutely love it. Unfortunately, I just don't love this game graphically. I think it's a bit of a disappointment that they didn't carry over some of the graphics from The Sims 1. I know on the console you really want to sell that everything is made 3D, but there's something so iconic about that isometric look of The Sims, and all the furniture just really has an interesting feel to it, and I think it's a bit unfortunate that they didn't bring that over here. It feels a little rough around the edges too, all the 3D models and everything, and I don't think it looks incredible for about halfway through the Xbox's lifespan. They don't skimp on the music though, I will say that. Jerry Martin's iconic light jazz score stays here, and it is absolutely incredible. Maybe one of the best gaming soundtracks of all time, just for how relaxing it can be. Building is beautiful, and I think this music captured a lot of imaginations of people around the world, as well as this game. And overall, I really love The Sims, and the original isn't as good as 2, of course, but still plays very well. It's actually nice to go back to the first Sims game, and it's simplistic in design, but still wonderful. It's a refreshing game nowadays, back when it was a small game with a huge potential. And I think on the Xbox, it may not be as good as the PC version. It has some flaws, but it's still a good time, especially with a nice added story mode. And on my ranked list, the Xbox version is going to come in at number 8. As a console game, I find the Herbs is the perfect console Sims experience and is better than The Sims, but definitely holds its own with a good chunk of other titles on the console. Well, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, and also check out my other stuff. I do have an Herbs review if you really like Sims content, and we'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.